In this tutorial, we're going to build a pay-per-click budget tracker. Whether you're managing an $18 million budget or an $18,000 budget, you need to keep your client's ad spend closely on target because you only have so much to spend per month or per quarter. As a PPC manager, you need to track your client's budget closely so you don't underspend and then face having your budget cut, and also so you don't overspend irresponsibly without having first presented proof of an opportunity to your client and then gained your client's permission to increase the budget. The budget tracker I will teach you how to make is going to help you when you need to make a case for asking your client for additional funds when your account is performing exceptionally well. I'll also teach you how to adjust your ad spend at any time during the budget period so that it stays on course to maximize the advertising spend without going over. Note that for very big clients, you'll want to make edits to this budget tracker daily, but for smaller clients, you could do this weekly and preferably at the beginning of the week so you could keep things running smoothly for the rest of the week. I urge you to download the Excel support file for this tutorial as it's important to the learning experience. A link can be found in the written description below. We should pretend a few things so that we not only learn to create a budget tracker in this tutorial, but also have a worthwhile scenario that you can learn from that's going to add to your understanding of why maintaining a budget tracker is so valuable. Here's what we'll pretend. Number 1. Our campaign's quarterly budget is $18,000. Last quarter it was $18,000, and again in Q2 it's $18,000. Number 2. Our competition has been heating up. Our ads are still running in our preferred positions. However, last quarter, one main competitor had been making major content improvements to their site, which likely improved their quality scores. And the second competitor has been overtaking that first main competitor during some days and times that in our day parting schedule have proven for our client to get the most conversions. That second competitor is knocking the first competitor during those days and times into position 4, which likely means the second competitor is bidding higher to overtake them. And number 3, in response to the increased competition, at the beginning of this quarter, our client's web development team launched a new feature on the website that advertises relevant accessories to the shopper once they've added a product to their shopping cart. For instance, before completing the online purchase of a camera, the site shows popular accessories to the camera, like a tripod, a carrying case, and lenses, paired with customer reviews. Now let's get started. Download and open the Excel file for this tutorial and click on the Q2 2013 blank worksheet. Label cell 1A Weekly Date Ranges. Skip over cell 1B and go to 1C and label that week number, 1D Days, 1E Weekly Spend, 1G Conversions, 1H Sales Value, and 1I AOV, which stands for Average Order Value. Now there are 13 weeks in a quarter, and since the first row in this table is reserved for column headings, we know rows 2 through 14 are going to be data points representing the 13 weeks. So in cell 2A, put the first day of the first week, and then in cell 2B, put the last day of the first week. That looks like this. 9/1/13, 9/7/13. Then in cell 3A, put the first day of the second week, and in cell 3B, put the last day of the second week. And that looks like this. 9/8/13 to 9/14/13. Now Excel has enough data to comprehend the pattern of dates that we want to create, and can auto-format the remaining week ranges for the quarter. So to do that, drag a selection box around these 4 dates, and then drag down the selection box to row 14B, and let go. Note that if instead we were reporting on this per month rather than per quarter, the first 28 to 31 lines would be devoted to the campaign's weekly ad spend, and you'd be opening and editing this budget tracker daily. Now let's auto-format the week number and days columns. In cell 2C, type week 1, and in cell 3C, type week 2. Now select these 2 cells and drag the selection box down to cell 14C. Now we're going to pretend that we're in week 5 of this quarter. So we're going to format this column only up until week number 5. So there are 7 days in a week. So we're just going to type 7 there, and then we're going to drag this down all the way to 5. Now let's have a look at our AdWords account so we can grab some of the current week's data to plug into the budget tracker. Set the date range to 1 week, and then copy down the number of conversions for the week, the value of that week's total conversions, and the weekly cost. We're going to plug these numbers into our Excel worksheet. Now let's enter that data into the appropriate cells of week number 5. Total conversions for the week was 58. The total sales value of those conversions for the week was $6,924.04. So that's $6,924.04. And the total cost for the week was $1,622. Now let's format these columns. Weekly spend is going to be dollars, and sales value is going to be dollars, and we know average order value is going to be dollars. We're pretending that we're at week 5 of the quarter, so that we could have collected enough data for this quarter to analyze and claim there's a trend. For the sake of learning in this tutorial, we're going to need to make up some pretend data for weeks 1 through 4. Of course, if we were on the job, we wouldn't be making up any pretend data. We would have just been collecting the real data all along. But that said, just follow along and let's fill in the pretend data. Let's cruise through this. So in the weekly spend column, in the first cell, type 1604, and then 1634, and then 1590, and then 1685. In the conversions column, type 55, then 67, then 50, and then 52. And then in the sales value column, type 6250.20, then 7934.81, then 5886.50, and then 6269.12. Now let's calculate the AOV, or the average order value, which is the sales value divided by the number of conversions. In the first cell under AOV, select it, type equals, and then select the sales value, type /, and then select the conversions value, and hit enter. Now let's auto-format the rest of the AOV for the remaining 5 weeks by clicking and dragging on the lower right corner of this cell down to the 5th week. Label cell 15C totals. And now let's use AutoSum on some of our columns. select all of the days down to totals, and click Auto Sum. And then let's do that for weekly spend, conversions, and sales value. Now we're going to label some new cells in our budget tracker that will offer some perspective on current performance of our campaign in relation to the quarterly budget. Label cell 17A, total budget. And then next to it, in 17B, type $18,000. And that's because our quarterly budget is $18,000. Label cell 18A, TTD spend, which stands for term to date spend. This cell shows us how much of our $18,000 budget we have spent so far. And since we've already applied AutoSum to the weekly spend column, let's just share that calculation with the term to date spend. So in cell 18B, type equals, and then select this number over here in cell 15E and hit enter. Highlight cell 20A and label it total days. Total days is going to be the number of days in the quarter multiplied by the number of days per week. So we know there are 13 weeks in a quarter and 7 days in a week. So if I select cell 20B and type equals, I can then type 13 star 7 to get my calculation. Label cell 21A day. This is the number of days that have occurred so far during the quarter. We've already calculated that number here at the bottom of the days column. So it's 35. So in cell 21B, select it, type equals, and then select this 35 and hit enter. And then label cell 22A, days remaining. And this is going to be the total number of days in the quarter minus the current number of days that have passed this quarter. So in days remaining, type equals, and then select this 91 minus 35 and hit enter. Label cell 24A run rate. The run rate is a projection of what our quarterly spend will likely be if our 5 weeks of advertising spend continues following the same trend for the remainder of the quarter. It's a calculation of how much we've spent so far, divided into the current number of days that have passed this quarter, and then multiplied by the total number of days in the whole quarter. Did I lose you? Well, in cell 24B, type an equals sign, and then select $8,135 because that's how much we've spent so far this quarter. Type a / for division, and then select 35 because that's the number of days that have passed so far this quarter. And then type a star for multiplication, and then select 91 because that's the total number of days in the whole quarter, and hit enter. Yikes! If things continue as they're going, we're set to spend $21,151 this quarter, which exceeds our $18,000 budget. What are we going to do? Well, it's important to stay calm. The sky isn't falling. We're going to do some further calculations so that we can present the situation to our client or boss in a professional way. We're either going to make a case for why we should request additional budget funds so that we can afford to spend $21,151 this quarter. We're definitely going to present the cause for the increase in advertising spend. We'll inform our boss or our client of the projected return from the additional spending, and if it so happens that the increase in advertising spend is a mistake, we'll track down the root cause of the problem and propose a wise solution. Let's figure out what percentage we're projected to overspend, because it's nice to have an alternative way to tell our client or boss about the overage than to rattle off exact dollar and cent amounts and then expect them to remember those exact amounts. To calculate this percentage, we're going to divide our run rate into our total budget. So select cell 24C, type equals, then select our run rate, / for division, and then our total budget, and hit enter. So we're running at 118%, which is pretty hot. It's 18% over our budget. Now let's find out exactly how many dollars we're projected to exceed the total current budget by subtracting our run rate from our total budget. Label cell 25A, run rate over under. And select cell 25B. Type equals, and then select the total budget minus the run rate and hit enter. So we would be $3,151 over budget. So what does that mean we've been spending per day? Label cell 26A, daily run rate. Type an equals sign, and then select the term to date spend divided by the day and hit enter. So we've been spending $232.43 on average per day. Let's contrast our data from the Q2 report and the Q1 report and see if there are some differences that stand out, which could be clues to the cause of our increased ad spend. First, let's look at our weekly ad spend in Q2 and compare it to Q1. So it looks like we're spending around $100 more per week in weekly ad spend in Q2 than Q1. Now let's look at our conversions. It seems our conversions are exactly identical between Q2 and Q1. So let's look at our sales value. Wow, it looks like our sales value per week is around $2,000 more in Q2 than it was in Q1. That's pretty significant. Let's look at our average order value. That's pretty significantly different as well. In Q2, our average order value appears to be around $30 more per order. I'm going to say that that's probably the result of our client's new website functionality, where they're advertising relevant accessories to shoppers. I'm pretty sure the client's going to be interested to know that that's working well. We also know search demand is up in Q2, and the advertising has gotten more competitive, and that drives cost per click values higher. When demand increases, Google wants to keep people's ads going longer, and that's why in Q2 there's nearly a 20% overage trajectory, shooting beyond the $18,000 budget. When search traffic is higher, Google is allowed to show your ads more, and when that happens, your daily total spend could be up by as much as 20% over your daily budget. If our client or boss wants us to get the advertising spend back on track so that it doesn't exceed the $18,000 budget allotted for the quarter, we're going to need to calculate how much we are left with to spend on the account each day. To calculate that number, we need to subtract the current spend from the total budget and then divide that by the number of days left in the quarter. Label cell 27A, budget remaining. And in 27B, type an equals sign. And this is going to be the total budget minus the term to date spend. Then label cell 28A, daily fix. And this is going to be our budget remaining divided by our days remaining. So we know that we have this new reduced amount of $176.16 to spend each day. If we're going to get this budget back on track with our weekly spend so that we hit the $18,000 mark rather than exceeding it like we are doing on our current trajectory, where we would hit $21,151. If this is the option our client or boss wants us to pursue, we'll need to bring all of that account's campaign budgets into Excel and play around with adjusting the numbers until they total $176.16 per day or less. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to do just that. We need to decrease the daily budget for all of our campaigns within the account so that the total daily budget doesn't exceed the daily fix, which is $176. To do this, we'll need to download a report from Google AdWords that contains all of our campaign names with their corresponding daily budgets, and then copy and paste that data in Excel to a new worksheet for cleanliness sake. I've already done this for you. In the Excel file I've made available to download for this tutorial, open the worksheet named Q2 Daily Multiplier. The first thing that we want to do is label cell 31A Daily Account Budget. And then we want to auto sum the daily budget column so that we can learn what our daily account budget has been. And next, we want to label cell 32A Daily Account Fix because we know this is 176, and that's what we have to bring this $197.80 down to. So then let's highlight these daily account budget cells and color them green. And let's highlight these daily account fix cells and highlight them pink. Next, label cell 1C multiplier and label cell 1D Q2 daily campaign fix. So now what we're going to do is come up with a number that's less than 1 that we can multiply the daily budget for each of these campaigns by. That can give us a new smaller number for our daily budget for each of these campaigns that when they total up are $176. So let's start with 0.95 as our multiplier, and then let's format the remaining cells of this column with 0.95. And now for the Q2 daily campaign fix, this is simple. It's just the daily budget multiplied by the multiplier. So we can see our multiplier is working well. $16.15 is less than $17. We want to apply this calculation to all of the remaining cells in the column. And then we want to auto sum to find out what our proposed daily account fix is. And we can see it's higher. It came in at 187.91. That's higher than 176, which is where we need it to be. So we're going to have to reduce the value of our multiplier. But first, let's color this cell pink because it's related to our daily account fix. We want these two to match as closely as possible. And let's also highlight these two cells light blue because they're headers, and we want to keep everything in our tables looking nice. Okay, so now we're going to reduce our multiplier. Let's try 0.9 and see what happens. Oh, we're still too high. We're at 178.02. So let's try 0.89. Perfect. This brings us down to 176.04. That's right in range. This is going to work. So the next step is to open up Google AdWords, and then for each of the campaigns in the account, go to the corresponding campaign and change the daily budget value to the new Q2 daily campaign fix value. And if we do that, then we'll be back on track to not exceed the Q2 budget of $18,000. If we can present a data-driven case that proves it would be beneficial to continue on the current spending trajectory and exceed the current budget of $18,000 because it would mean securing more profits for our client, we might be able to get approval for a bigger budget for this quarter, future quarters, and also make our client very happy. Every client likes to earn more money, right? Well, let's try and make a case for increasing the budget to meet or exceed our projected run rate of $21,150 for the quarter. Label cell 29A ROAS, which stands for Return on Advertising Spend. It's the number that represents the dollars earned per the dollars spent on advertising. This is going to be calculated as the total value of our sales so far this quarter divided by how much we've spent so far on advertising this quarter. In cell 29B, type an equals sign, and then select cell 15H, which is our total sales value so far this quarter, divided by our term-to-date spend, and hit enter. So our ROAS is 4.09, or another way to think about it is for every dollar spent, we're getting $4.09 back. Hey, I don't know what the client's going to do. I don't know what he's going to choose, but I know if there was a vending machine that I could slide a dollar bill into the top of and always get $4.09 in return out the bottom, I'd spend all my time and money feeding that vending machine all day long. A 4.09 return on ad spend sounds pretty good to me. So let's make this more clear of a benefit to our client or boss by showing the total dollars and cents that the return on advertising spend equates to by comparing the forecast for the quarter of the original return to the new, higher forecasted return, and then we'll calculate the net difference. Label cell 24F, budget/return forecast. Budget, return, forecast. Expand this column. Make sure this is bold. This is a header. Label cell 25F, forecast, original return. 26F, label forecast, proposed return. And then 27F, net difference. In column G, next to forecast original return, we're going to multiply our total budget for the quarter by the return on ad spend. So we're going to select the total budget and multiply that by our ROAS. And then to calculate the forecast proposed return, we're going to multiply the run rate by the ROAS. So here's our run rate multiplied by the return on ad spend. And then to calculate the net difference is easy. That's going to be the forecast proposed return minus the forecasted original return. Well, I think we can make a case for this to our client or boss. If we're willing to spend $3,151 more this quarter on advertising, we stand to make $12,884.69 more than we would have if we only spent $18,000 in total on our advertising this quarter. I think with some nice formatting on this worksheet, this is something worthy of presenting to our boss or our client. Now we're prepared to present the case and our recommendations to our client or boss in a professional way. We can tell them, this quarter, we're on a trajectory to exceed our $18,000 budget because increased competition has driven our cost per click higher during peak conversion days and times. However, the accessory promotion work that was launched this quarter for the website has been so beneficial that the client could have a return of $12,884.69 more on their advertising investment this quarter than the previous quarter if I can have permission to increase the advertising budget by just $3,151 more dollars. Although if I don't have permission to increase the quarterly budget, I can certainly rein in the ad spending for the rest of the quarter so that we don't exceed that $18,000. In conclusion, this tutorial taught you how to manage your client's pay-per-click budget like a pro, and I really hope that you'll put what you saw here to good use for all the pay-per-click accounts that you manage. Again, my name is Jason Stempel, and if I was able to help you with this tutorial, if you learned something by watching, please give this video a +1, a thumbs up, share it across the web with all your friends, and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.